Hello and welcome back to Showcase, the series where I talk about a bunch of stuff that fits under a certain topic and I still don't have an intro for it. We all know about the successful video game consoles. You know, your Super Nintendos, your PlayStations, your Xboxes, what have you. And of course we all know about particularly unsuccessful consoles like the Virtual Boy and the Sega Saturn. But then there are the others, the forgotten consoles. As you could probably assume, these are consoles that nobody remembers, or very few people remember anyway. Normally with these types of videos I try not to go over the really obvious stuff, but there are only so many choices for this particular topic, so you might have actually heard of one or two of these before. Hopefully though, some of them will be a surprise. First up, the Sega Nomad. This handy little device sort of served as a successor to the Sega Game Gear, but rather than having its own lineup of games, it was basically a portable Sega Genesis. The system had a pretty decent number of Genesis games that it could work with. It didn't, however, support all of them. Basically anything that required a peripheral was out of the question, and the 32X and Power-Base Converter add-ons were a no-go as well. But even with those limitations, there were still over 500 Genesis games that did work on the thing. So why did it fail? First of all, it came out in 1995, hot on the heels of the PlayStation and Sega's own Saturn. Second, the thing was $180, which is about $284 in today's money. So yeah, people weren't really willing to drop that much on another Genesis when two far more advanced non-handheld consoles had just come out. And speaking of that handheld part, the Nomad really wasn't. Much like the Game Gear, the Nomad's really only portable in the same sense that your refrigerator is portable. Yeah, you can take it with you, but it's not exactly easy to do so and you're just better off leaving it at home. This stuff, combined with Sega's own focus on the Saturn, led to the Nomad mostly falling into obscurity. So, we all know about Nokia, right? You know, that multi-million-dollar company that used to make cell phones bigger than your head that could survive an atom bomb being dropped on them? Well, once upon a time, they decided to make a video game console. The Nokia N-Gage was released in 2003, and man did it flop. It only sold 2 million units in its 2-year lifespan, a number that the original PlayStation had sold in a mere 6 months. 58 games came out for the system, and from what I've heard, only a handful were really any good. Oh, and did I mention that this thing is also a cell phone? Could you imagine walking around town with this thing up to your ear? You'd look like an asshole! It's a little difficult to pinpoint exactly why the N-Gage failed, but I'd mostly chalk it up to the Game Boy Advance being a far better system. The GBA had been out for 2 years at that point and had way more games, plus it was only $99, much cheaper than the N-Gage, which was apparently $299 at launch, and that is just insane. This taco-shaped garbage was discontinued in 2005, with Nokia straight up admitting that it was a failure. Next up, there's that time Apple tried to make a console. Yes, that Apple. In 1996, they teamed up with Bandai to produce the Pippin, a device that sounds like the product of a madman. And considering Apple's CEO at the time, that was probably the case. This thing was not only meant to be a video game console, but also an educational tool and a means to browse the internet. A 3-in-1 console that was basically DOA. This thing came out in 1996 with a $600 price tag, equivalent to about $921 today. That alone would probably be enough to spell the Pippin's downfall, but don't worry, there's more. The PlayStation had just gotten its first price drop, taking it from $300 to $200, making it an even better deal than it already was before. But it also had way more games, as the Pippin had a total of 18 games. Apple produced 100,000 units, but only ended up selling 42,000. Apparently there were more keyboards and modems made for the Pippin than actual Pippins. It's like E.T. all over again. And now we come to the grand finale, the coup de grace, a console that was never even released. The Phantom was a console created by Infinium Labs, currently known as Phantom Entertainment. It was initially announced and slated to be released in 2003 and would be able to play all current and future PC releases, giving it an absolutely massive library of games. It was apparently also going to use a download service for games as opposed to cartridges and discs, much like what Steam does now. The Phantom didn't hit its planned release of 2003 and was pushed back to sometime in the first quarter of 2004. And at E3 of that year, a prototype for the console was seen, but it was rumored to be fake, and as far as I can tell, that was never confirmed or denied. After missing the Q1 of 2004 release, the Phantom was delayed to November of 2004, a date that it yet again missed, and was rescheduled to release in January of 2005. After it missed that date too, the developers predicted the Phantom would be released in March. You can probably guess what happened then. Yeah, they missed it again. Infinium was also absent from E3 of that year, but we did get another projected launch for the console, this time for fall of 2005, around the same time as the Xbox 360. It missed that release date too, and no new release was set. Come August of 2006, the console was removed from Infinium's product page on their website and was presumably cancelled. And now the Phantom is barely more than a memory, but at least the name fits since it truly is a Phantom. And there you have some forgotten consoles. As with all showcase topics, there's a possibility I'll be returning to this in the future, so if there's a forgotten or even cancelled console you find interesting, put it in the comments and I might talk about it in the future. But that's all for now, and I will see you guys next time.